Welcome everyone to another episode of Jake's Speed Shop. Today we're going to be installing and reviewing the Lincoln Electric Magnum 100 SG spool gun. So you can weld aluminum with your Lincoln Electric MIG welder. Now I've already opened this thing up because I wanted to make sure it wasn't damaged whenever it came in the mail. But whenever I opened it, it went something like this. And when you get it, it's going to come in a black box. It comes with this carrying case here. We'll have your spool gun, some extra tips, a 2.5 pound spool of, no, a 1 pound spool of wire, and the instructions and everything you will need to install it into your Lincoln welder. So let's get the instructions out, get the welder over here, and see if we can't get this thing installed. Now the first downside I noticed is Lincoln needs to step up and update the manual here. When you go into the manual, it's going to give you a list of welders and their code number, and you can find the code number on the back of it, and that tells you whether or not you need this harness here with the switch. Now mine had code 11201 for a Power MIG 140T. Well, you see that code doesn't correspond to what is there, and it says it is required. Now when I went over to my welder and was looking at it, mine already has the switch right here for spool gun and then MIG welder. So flip it to spool gun. So installation on mine was fairly simple. All I had to do was loosen this screw here. The lead for the MIG welder pulls out, wrap up all your wire, unscrew the connector on the front, then slide in your spool gun lead and tighten the jam nut, then tighten this connector here. Next thing to do is swap over the regulator and bottle over to straight argon gas so we can weld some aluminum. Okay, now we have the argon welder hooked up. If you are using the regulator that came with it, you're going to have to get a new one. Different gases have different weights, so it's going to affect the flow rate on the CFM. This one here for argon is set up, and in order to set it, what you're going to do is on this style gauge here, pull the trigger, wait for the ball to bounce and settle, and you're going to adjust it from there. I've already set this one here, got it about 30-35 psi of pressure on the argon side. Little interesting fact here, whenever these bottles are made and certified, they stamp them. I don't know how well you can see it here, but this one has 2018-01. That's an interesting fact, is if you look at that on your bottles, you can often find bottles from the 70s, 60s, sometimes as way back as the 30s, if they're still certifying good. So now that we have the regulator set up, have the welder set over to spool gun, let's get the aluminum spool wire set up inside. What you're going to do here, see if I can get this thing situated. Move this out of the way. Cover. Alright. Move this here. Get your wire. I dropped you. go ahead, cut that little section off, run it underneath into the groove on the spool gun, hit the trigger. Mine don't want to work yet. It does. It's just me. Weird. It's acting up. Don't know how well I like that. Doesn't want to feed the wire too well. Let me figure it out and I'll get back with y'all. Okay, that was completely user error. I had the speed turned way down on the machine and it didn't seem to like that. But now, don't know why you see it. Feeds the wire just fine. After you do that, install your spring, big end down, little end up. Tighten this down. You don't want to kill it. You want to allow the spool to move. You don't want it moving a lot. Cover. Slide back on. Fit down inside the machine. Tighten it up. And let's get some aluminum over here and see how well it lays a bead. Alrighty, now I've got a piece of roughly 10 gauge up here. Got the machine set to 6 on the wire speed and D for the power. I've already laid a couple beads here trying to get it dialed in. I think the machine called for 7.5 on the wire speed, but I don't think it liked that much. So I went ahead and slowed it down a little bit. So let's lay a bead and let y'all take a look at it. Alrighty. There we go. Now this was my first bead I laid up here. Come back down, second and third. Starts off a little cold and then starts to finally burn in pretty good. Take a flap disc to it or a file and get most of these BBs off of here. I believe if the aluminum was cleaner, it's a little warmer in here, might get some better weld. It's currently 40 degrees out. Metal's been sitting outside getting cold. So overall, I think I'm happy with it. I'll check back up with y'all after I've been used it for a while and let y'all know how well it's been going. I would recommend it. The spool gun itself was $200, and if you're looking to get into entry-level welding and aluminum weld around your shop, I think this would be a good bid for it. I wanted to build a custom center console for my 68 C10, and I think this is going to allow me to do it. Thank you all for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below.